In 1901, Nikola Tesla was constructing his masterpiece. He broke ground on the Wardenclyffe Laboratory in New York, erecting a massive 187-foot transmission tower designed to channel enormous concentrations of electricity across the planet. To build it, he secured $150,000 from J.P. Morgan. Tesla promised the financier a system that would broadcast news, messages, and telephone calls around the globe entirely without wires. But within a few years, the project collapsed. Morgan abruptly cut off the funding. Tesla was forced into bankruptcy. His tower was eventually torn down for scrap metal, and he spent his later decades retreating into debt and isolation. This collapse highlights the central mystery of Tesla's career: why a mind capable of engineering the 20th century proved so incapable of navigating its business realities. The source of that failure formed decades earlier, during a traumatic childhood in the mountains of Croatia. Growing up in the 1850s, young Nikola was pulled between two contrasting influences. His mother, Duka, was a brilliant pragmatist who modified household appliances to make them more efficient. His father, Milutin, was a rigid intellectual and priest who demanded strict religious devotion. That family dynamic shattered in 1863. 7-year-old Nikola watched as the family's Arabian horse suddenly panicked and killed his older brother, Dane. Consumed by grief, his father withdrew. Milutin began to openly resent Nikola's interests, flying into rages if he caught the boy reading from his library, and insisting that Nikola abandon science to join the priesthood. Deprived of affection, Nikola tried to earn back his father's love through impossible feats of discipline. He began calculating the volume of his meals and meticulously counting his steps, convinced that if he could execute every action with total perfection, he could fill the void left by his brother's death. This pursuit of approval etched a dangerous pattern into his psyche. Tesla learned that his only path to validation was to promise flawless, world-changing results, no matter the logistical cost. The psychological pressure manifested in severe physical and mental tolls. As a teenager, Tesla developed obsessive-compulsive behaviors and a condition where flashes of light were accompanied by vivid hallucinations that he could not distinguish from reality. After graduating grammar school, his body gave out. He contracted cholera, spending 9 months bedridden. On his deathbed, he made a bargain with his father, begging to be allowed to study engineering instead of the priesthood as his final wish. Terrified of losing another son, Milutin finally surrendered. He promised Nikola could attend the best technical institution in the world, and almost immediately the young man made a miraculous physical recovery. Free to pursue science, Tesla learned to use his intrusive visions as an engineering tool. He found he could build, test, and refine complex motors entirely in his mind. He let these mental machines run for weeks, checking for wear on the components, before he ever drafted a physical blueprint. This mental isolation allowed him to invent without the friction of the physical world. However, it also left him deeply unprepared for the messy, unpredictable reality of human compromise and economic limitations. By 1901, the success of Wardenclyffe rested entirely on satisfying J.P. Morgan, a man who, much like Tesla's father, demanded absolute adherence to a strict set of results. Morgan provided the capital, but his expectations left no room for the theoretical detours Tesla preferred. Driven by his childhood need to promise the impossible, Tesla refused to compromise when rival Guglielmo Marconi began making headlines with simpler radio transmissions. Instead of delivering a functional product, Tesla made even grander, more expensive guarantees to Morgan. This chart shows the collision between these two worldviews. If we map out time versus available capital, Morgan's investment of $150,000 forms a rigid ceiling. Morgan viewed this as a firm limit. Tesla, however, viewed it as a starting point. Ignoring financial boundaries, his costs violently broke past the limits, leading Morgan to cut off the relationship and leave Wardenclyffe to rot. The rejection shattered Tesla. He suffered a complete nervous breakdown, slipping into a delirium, haunted by visions of his deceased brother and mother. He was spiraling back into the original traumas of his youth. Tesla would spend the rest of his life chasing funding for projects that never materialized. The obsessive perfectionism that allowed him to see a future no one else could imagine was the exact mechanism that destroyed his ability to function in the present.